The night was quieter than usual. In the small suburban town, where life moved at a slow and steady pace, the houses were neatly lined up, each with trimmed lawns and glowing porch lights. Inside, one of them lived Caroline Miller, a woman who had spent much of her life trying to hold her family together. She was thoughtful, careful with her words, and had always been the kind of mother who believed in patience over punishment. Caroline's son, Michael, had just turned 22. He was still finding his footing in life, finishing college while juggling part-time jobs. His father, Robert, was a businessman whose work kept him away most of the time. Over the years, the distance between Robert and Caroline had grown, and although they still lived under the same roof, they were more like polite strangers than husband and wife. Michael noticed it, of course, but he tried not to get in the middle. It was during one of those evenings when Michael returned home unexpectedly. Caroline had been sitting in the living room, staring at her phone with an unread message from an old friend she hadn't spoken to in years. The message was harmless on the surface, but it stirred emotions she thought had long been buried. She quickly put her phone down when she heard Michael's footsteps, not wanting him to see the storm brewing inside her heart. "Hey, Mom," Michael said, dropping his bag near the door. "Hi, honey," Caroline replied with a soft smile. "You're home early." "Yeah, my shift got cut short." He paused, looking at her closely. "You okay?" Caroline hesitated for a moment, then forced another smile. "I'm fine, just tired, that's all." But Michael could tell there was more. He sat beside her, his voice gentle. "Mom, you don't look fine. Is it Dad again?" Caroline's throat tightened. She wanted to protect her son from the weight of her disappointment, but the truth was, Robert's absence and emotional distance had worn her down. The marriage was more of a performance than a partnership, and she had quietly accepted it for years. Yet having Michael notice made the facade harder to maintain. She sighed, placing a hand on her son's arm. "Michael, sometimes life doesn't turn out the way we picture it. Your dad and I, we've had our struggles." Michael nodded, his jaw tightening. He had always admired his mother's strength, but he hated seeing her sadness. "You don't deserve that, Mom. You've done everything for this family." The words caught her off guard, and for a moment, her eyes watered. She whispered almost instinctively, "Take it easy, son." It was meant to calm him, to stop him from spiraling into anger toward his father. But that whisper carried something heavier, a quiet admission that she herself was barely holding on. The days that followed brought more attention. Caroline couldn't stop thinking about the message from her old friend, Daniel, a man she had known before she married Robert. He had been kind, thoughtful, someone who truly listened. Reconnecting with him had seemed innocent at first, but the conversations grew longer, warmer, more personal. Michael noticed his mother's brighter tone when she spoke on the phone. The way she laughed differently, as though a part of her youth had returned. He didn't say anything at first, but one evening, when Caroline set her phone down on the kitchen counter, he glanced at the screen and saw the name Daniel. "Who's Daniel?" he asked, his voice steady but curious. Caroline froze. "He's an old friend." Michael raised an eyebrow. "Old friend? Huh. You've been talking to him a lot lately." Her heart pounded. "Michael, it's complicated." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Complicated? How are you? Is this something more?" Caroline looked away, guilt pressing against her chest. She didn't want to lie, but she also didn't want to admit too much. "I felt very alone for a long time, Michael. Your father doesn't see me anymore. Talking to Daniel makes me feel alive again." Michael's stomach twisted. The thought of his mother drifting into what looked dangerously close to infidelity shocked him. He didn't know whether to protect her, confront her, or demand that she stop. "Mom," He said slowly, "I don't want to see you hurt, and I don't want to see our family fall apart either." Caroline met his eyes, her voice trembling. "I never meant for this to happen. But sometimes, when you're starved for affection, you start looking for it anywhere you can find it." From that night on, Michael carried the weight of his mother's secret. He avoided his father, knowing the truth would crush him. He tried to be strong for Caroline, offering her kindness and patience. Their bond deepened in unexpected ways, not because of the secret itself, but because they leaned on each other more than ever before. Weeks passed, and Daniel suggested meeting in person. Caroline hesitated. She knew crossing that line would be the point of no return. She sat in her room one night, staring at her phone when Michael walked in quietly. "Are you going to see him?" he asked, his voice low. Caroline's hands trembled. "I don't know." Michael took a deep breath, sitting across from her. "Mom, whatever you decide, just remember, it's not just about you. It's about all of us. About Dad. About me. Please don't do something you can't take back." Tears filled her eyes as she whispered again, "Take it easy, son." But this time, it wasn't just to calm him. It was to calm herself. The truth was, she didn't want to be the kind of person who shattered her family. The whisper became her anchor, a reminder that she needed to slow down before making a decision that would ripple through all their lives. In the end, Caroline chose to end her communication with Daniel. It wasn't easy. Her heart ached for the warmth he had given her. But she knew that healing her marriage, or finding peace on her own terms, was better than destroying the trust of those she loved. Michael stayed by her side, quietly proud of her strength. Their bond grew stronger, not because everything was perfect, but because they had faced the storm together. And though Robert never fully knew the depth of how close his marriage had come to breaking, Caroline never forgot the night she whispered those words to her son, the night he became her anchor when she was drifting too far.